The phone call came at 2 in the morning. Frank Sinatra was in his suite at the Waldorf Astoria, New York City, August 1958. He'd just finished a late show at the Copa. 3 encores, standing ovation. The usual. Now he was unwinding with a drink and some Ellington on the record player, trying to come down from the adrenaline before attempting sleep. The phone rang. He almost didn't answer it. Nothing good came from calls at 2 a.m. But he picked up anyway. Yeah, Mr. Sinatra? The voice was young, male, shaking. This is Officer Dennis Cole. Nipped. I'm calling about Rose Daniels. Frank set down his glass. Who? Rose Daniels. She worked at Small's Paradise. In Harlem. You were there last week. You spoke to her. Frank remembered. Tuesday night. He'd gone uptown after his show. Small's Paradise was the kind of place where the music was good and the crowd didn't care that you were famous. They cared if you respected the music. He'd been sitting at the bar when a man, drunk, belligerent, had grabbed one of the waitresses. She'd tried to pull away. The man had tightened his grip. Frank had stood up, walked over, put his hand on the man's shoulder, let her go. The man had turned, recognized Frank, smiled like they were old friends. Sinatra. Hey, I'm just having fun with. Let her go. Something in Frank's voice made the smile disappear. The man had released the waitress, muttered something, left. Frank had turned to the girl. You okay? She'd nodded. Early 20s. Beautiful. Scared, but trying not to show it. Thank you. What's your name? Rose. Rose, that guy's trouble. You see him again, you call someone. Don't try to handle him yourself. I will. Thank you, Mr. Sinatra. He'd gone back to his drink. Hadn't thought about it again. Until now. What about her? Frank asked into the phone. The officer's voice was steady, but there was something underneath. Something raw. She's dead, Mr. Sinatra. Someone killed her. We found her body about 6 hours ago. Frank's hand tightened on the receiver. How she was beaten. Then strangled. Left in an alley behind the club. When? We think around 8 p.m. She'd just finished her shift. Frank closed his eyes. The man from last week. The one who grabbed her. We think so. But we can't prove it. Why not? The officer hesitated. Because he's connected. And because this is Harlem. And she was. She was a black girl working in a nightclub, and nobody up here is going to push too hard on this unless someone makes them. What's his name? Mr. Sinatra, I can't. What's his name? Another pause. Longer this time. Vincent Call, Jr. His father was Vincent Mad Dog Call. Got killed back in '32, but the family still has connections. Junior runs protection rackets in Harlem, gambling. Girls. He's untouchable up here. Where is he now? We brought him in for questioning. Had to let him go. His lawyer showed up in 20 minutes. He had an alibi. 3 witnesses who say he was in a card game in the Bronx when Rose was killed. The witnesses are lying. Of course they're lying. But we can't prove it. Frank stood up, paced to the window, looked out at the city. All those lights, all those lives. And somewhere out there, a man who'd killed a 20-something-year-old waitress because she'd had the audacity to resist him. Why are you calling me? Frank asked. Because you're the only person who saw what he did to her. You're a witness to his character. And because... The officer's voice dropped. Because Rose's mother came to the station tonight. She knew her daughter had talked about you. About how you'd helped her. She wanted me to tell you. She wanted you to know that Rose died anyway. She blaming me? No, sir. She just wanted you to know. Frank was quiet for a long time. What's your situation, Officer Cole? You got a family? Yes, sir. Wife and a daughter. You want to keep them safe? Of course. Then forget you called me. Forget we had this conversation. Go home and don't think about this anymore. Mr. Sinatra, I'm serious. This isn't your fight. You did what you could. Now you back away. What are you going to do? Frank hung up without answering. He stood there for a moment. Then he picked up the phone again. Dialed a number he hadn't called in months. It rang 4 times before someone answered. The voice was gravelly, annoyed. This better be important. Sam, Frank said, I need a favor. Sam Giancana was quiet for a moment. Frank, it's 2 in the morning. I know what time it is. This about business? It's about a girl who got killed. I don't do that anymore. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm asking you to make some calls. Find out where Vincent Cole Jr. is right now. Find out where he'll be tomorrow. Find out everything. Why? Because I'm going to talk to him. Talk? Yeah. Talk. Giancana laughed. Not a warm laugh. Frank, you're a singer. You're not built for this kind of conversation. Then I'll learn. You'll get yourself killed. Maybe. You going to help me or not? Giancana sighed. Give me an hour. 45 minutes later, the phone rang again. He's at the Lenox Social Club, Giancana said. Lenox Avenue and 142nd, upstairs. He's there most nights, usually leaves around 4 a.m. Alone? He's got 2 guys with him, Jimmy Marks and Paulie something. I don't have a last name. They armed? Probably. Frank, you can't just walk in there. Why not? Because it's his territory. His people. You show up, you're starting a war. I'm not starting anything. I'm finishing something. That's not how it works. Then how does it work, Sam? Giancana was quiet. You want me to send some people? Make this go away quietly? No. Why not? Because I want him to see me coming. I want him to know exactly who's doing this and why. That's stupid, Frank. Probably. You're going to get yourself killed. You said that already. Giancana was quiet for a long moment. What did this girl mean to you? Nothing. I met her once. Then why? Because I could have stopped this. I should have done more than just tell some drunk to let go of her. I should have made sure he understood that touching her again would cost him everything. You're not responsible for what happened, I know that. But I'm responsible for what happens next. Frank hung up. Got dressed. Black suit. Dark tie. He looked at himself in the mirror. He looked like he was going to a funeral. Close enough. He took a cab to Harlem. The driver, an older black man, kept glancing in the rearview mirror. You sure about this address, Mr. Sinatra? I'm sure. That's not a good neighborhood. Not at this hour. I'll be fine. You want me to wait? No. I'll find my own way back. The driver pulled up to the corner of Lenox and 142nd. Frank paid him. Tipped him $50. What's this for? The driver asked. For not asking questions. The Lenox Social Club was above a barber shop. Narrow staircase. Door at the top. Light coming from underneath. Frank could hear music. Voices. Laughter. He walked up the stairs. Didn't knock. Just opened the door and walked in. The room went quiet. There were maybe 15 people inside. Card tables. Cigarette smoke. A small bar in the corner. Everyone stopped what they were doing and stared at Frank Sinatra standing in the doorway in a suit that cost more than most of them made in a month. Vincent Cole Jr. was at a table near the back, early 30s. Thick neck, expensive watch. He looked like every 2-bit gangster Frank had ever met. Dangerous enough to hurt people, not smart enough to see consequences coming. Vincent's eyes widened. Then he smiled. Sinatra, Hell of a surprise. You lost? Frank walked toward the table, slowly. Everyone in the room watched. A few men stood up, hands moving toward jackets where weapons might be hidden. Vincent held up a hand. Easy. Mr. Sinatra's a friend. I'm not your friend, Frank said. Vincent's smile faded slightly. No? Then what are you? I'm here about Rose Daniels. The room got quieter, if that was possible. Vincent leaned back in his chair. Who? The waitress from Small's Paradise. The one you killed 6 hours ago. Vincent spread his hands. I don't know what you're talking about. I was in the Bronx tonight, playing cards. Ask anyone. Your alibis are bought. Your witnesses are paid. But we both know what you did. Vincent's face hardened. You should be careful what you accuse people of, Mr. Sinatra, especially in neighborhoods where you're not from. Frank stopped 3 feet from the table. You're going to confess. Vincent laughed. So did a few of his men. Confess to what? To killing Rose Daniels. You're going to walk into the precinct tomorrow morning and tell them everything. How you followed her. How you beat her. How you strangled her and left her in an alley like garbage. The laughter stopped. Vincent stood up. He was bigger than Frank. Broader. And why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'm going to destroy you. Not with my hands, not with violence, with something worse. Yeah? What's that? Attention. Vincent frowned. What? I'm going to make you famous, Vincent. I'm going to tell everyone what you did. I'm going to call every reporter I know, and I know all of them. And I'm going to make sure your name is in every newspaper in this city. Not as a tough guy, not as someone to fear, as a coward who killed a defenseless girl because she wouldn't let you touch her. Nobody cares about some dead waitress. They will when I tell them to care. They will when I make it a story. When I go on television and radio and tell everyone that Vincent Cole Jr. murdered Rose Daniels in cold blood. When I describe what you did in detail. When I make sure every person in America knows your face and your name and what you are. Vincent's jaw clenched. You can't prove anything. I don't have to prove it. I just have to say it. And people will believe me. Because I'm Frank Sinatra. And you're nobody. One of Vincent's men moved toward Frank. Vincent stopped him with a gesture. You think you can walk in here and threaten me? Vincent said quietly. I'm not threatening you. I'm giving you a choice. You confess, you face whatever consequences come. Maybe you do time. Maybe your lawyers get you out of it. But at least you have a chance. And if I don't, if you don't, I bury you. I make your life impossible. I make sure no one will work with you. No one will protect you. No one will take your money or do your favors. Because everyone will know what you are. And the people you think are loyal, they'll disappear the second you become a liability. Vincent stared at him. You're bluffing. Try me. The room was absolutely silent. Someone's cigarette burned down to the filter. Nobody moved. Finally, Vincent sat down. Get out. 24 hours, Frank said. You've got until tomorrow night. You confess. Or I start making calls. You'll be dead before morning. Frank smiled. Not friendly. Sam Giancana knows I'm here. He knows why I'm here. If anything happens to me, your entire operation ends. Your protection disappears. Your suppliers dry up. Your friends become enemies. You want to test that? Vincent's face went pale. Frank turned and walked toward the door. Nobody stopped him. Nobody moved. At the door, he paused, looked back. Her name was Rose Daniels. She was 23 years old. She worked hard. She was kind. And you killed her because you couldn't stand being told no. He paused. 24 hours, Vincent. Make the right choice. Frank walked down the stairs, got to the street. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst. He'd just bluffed his way through the most dangerous conversation of his life. And he had no idea if it had worked. He walked 3 blocks before he found a payphone. Called Officer Cole. It's Sinatra. You have people watching Vincent Cole, Jr.? Not officially, but watch him. 24 hours. If he runs, you'll lose him. If he stays, he might do the right thing. What did you do? I gave him a choice. We'll see if he's smart enough to take it. Frank hung up, got a cab back to the Waldorf, went upstairs, poured himself a drink, and waited. The next 24 hours were the longest of Frank's life. He didn't sleep, didn't eat much, just sat by the phone and waited. He thought about Rose, about the way she'd thanked him, about how scared she'd looked, about how he'd walked away without doing more. At 11 p.m., the next night, 1 hour before his deadline, the phone rang. Mr. Sinatra? Officer Cole's voice was different, lighter, he confessed. Frank closed his eyes. He walked in about an hour ago, brought his lawyer, told them everything. The lawyer tried to stop him, but he just kept talking. He's in custody now. He say why? He said he couldn't handle the attention. Said he knew what you'd do. Said he'd rather take his chances with the justice system than with you. Frank was quiet. Mr. Sinatra? You still there? Yeah. I'm here. What you did, I don't know how you did it, but Rose's mother wants to thank you. She wants to know if, tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I should have done more the first time. Tell her that Rose deserved better. From me. From everyone. I'll tell her. And Officer Cole? Yes, sir? We never spoke. You never called me. This never happened. Understood. Frank hung up, sat there for a long time. Vincent Cole, Jr. was convicted of second-degree murder 3 months later. He got 25 years to life. He served 19 before dying of a heart attack in prison. Frank never talked about it publicly. Never mentioned Rose Daniels in interviews. Never took credit for anything. But word got around. In certain circles, certain neighborhoods, people knew that Frank Sinatra had walked into the Lenox Social Club alone and walked out alive. That he'd faced down a killer with nothing but words and won. And something shifted after that. In how people saw him, in how they treated him. He wasn't just a singer anymore. He was someone who stood up, who protected people who couldn't protect themselves, who made the powerful answer for what they'd done to the powerless. Years later, decades later, a journalist tracked down Rose Daniels' mother. She was in her 80s by then, living in a small apartment in Brooklyn. The journalist asked about Frank, about what he'd done. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "He gave my daughter something nobody else would." What was that? Dignity. Everyone else treated her death like it didn't matter, like she was just another statistic, another poor girl who ended up in the wrong place. But Mr. Sinatra made it matter. He made sure the man who killed her paid for it. Did you ever thank him? I tried. I called, I wrote letters. He never responded. Why do you think that was? She smiled, sadly. Because he didn't do it for thanks. He did it because it was right. And people who do things because they're right don't need to be thanked. They just need to be remembered. Do you remember him? Every day. Every single day. Frank Sinatra died in 1998. His obituary mentioned his music, his films, his marriages, his friendships with presidents and mobsters and movie stars. It didn't mention Rose Daniels. But at his funeral, there was a wreath. Simple. No card. Just roses. It was from Rose Daniels' family. Because some debts outlast lifetimes. Some acts of courage echo longer than songs. And some deadlines, 24 hours to choose between cowardice and consequence, change everything. Not just for the people directly involved, but for everyone who hears the story, who learns that standing up doesn't require a badge, or a gun, or official authority. It just requires the willingness to look evil in the eye and refuse to blink. And the understanding that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't violence. It's the truth. Spoken loudly enough by someone people will listen to. With a deadline that makes cowardice impossible. 24 hours. Make the right choice. Or live with the consequences. Vincent Call Jr. chose. And a young waitress named Rose Daniels finally got justice. Not because the system worked, but because one man decided her life mattered enough to risk his own. And sometimes, in a world where power usually wins, that's enough. Sometimes, that's everything.